So I'm going to remember to hit the record button right here, get that going. And just as a way to let a few more people jump on here, let me just throw this up here. So there is a handout for you to keep. Most of the documentation you need for what we're going to do today is on our website, but there's also this, and here is the short code to get to it is bit.ly pdev 2014 0904 pdev 2014 0904 will give you a little bit of an outline of what I'm going to be doing. Mostly, though, I'm going to be working in Campaign Builder, so the notes are there, but not all that important. And one other thing, I'm going to start actually with a poll, just real quick, because I do want to get a sense of where you guys are at with opportunities. So if you would not mind, let me know. Go ahead and tell me how much you use opportunities, how regularly you use them in your campaigns. If you would, I will post this link in the chat room here so that while everyone's hopefully taking the poll, so that I can get a sense of that. Because one of the things that I run into actually is that surprising number of people do not use opportunities. And this group seems to be kind of evenly split. Yeah, pretty evenly split. 30% all the time, roughly 30% sometimes, 15 almost never, 15-ish never. I'm kind of rounding 15-ish. What's an opportunity? Okay. Nice. Okay. So that helps me a lot. Now, I have a question for you. What is it for those of you who do use opportunities? It looks like maybe about 60% of you use them somewhat. How many of you use them regularly? Or sorry, no, that's not what I know. I want to know how many of you use them for something other than sales funnels. That's a much better question. How many of you use those for something other than sales funnels? And if you do, if you would just type in the questions there on your right-hand side, what do you use them for other than a sales funnel? Anything? Anything? Okay. So we're getting a few answers here. So most people are saying only sales. We've got one, recruiting, which is a great way to use an opportunity. More sales. Okay. So mostly sales. All right. Very good. Well, then because by the way, there were like 20% of people who said more sales. 20% of people said, "What's an opportunity?" Or almost 20%, 19%. So let's actually talk about that. And I'm going to drag one out because we're gonna need one here in a minute anyway. I'm going to make this bigger, and so that it will show up well on our recording. So let's talk about what is an opportunity just very quickly for those of you who said, what's an opportunity? I know you didn't mean that literally, honestly, but however, so traditionally, as you just heard, right, an opportunity is used to track a sales process. It has stages that the sales process moves through, called pipeline stages, that you set up in your settings, right? In fact, I think I have mine here. So this is a look at the different stages that we have available for our opportunities in our own app, sales pipeline stages. And typically, anytime a client says to me or starts talking to me about any sort of a linear process, then I'm going to automatically think opportunity. So let's do this. I'm going to make an opportunity right here under Nessa Dog. These are my dogs, by the way. And I always, for those of you who have not been on a call with me, which is looks like most of you, which is kind of unusual, maybe because I'm not teaching PHP. So if you've never been on a call with me, you'll find out that I use my dogs for all my test orders. So we're going to go to down here to this is I'm going to make this a little bigger. So this is Nessa Dog, who's probably going to look up at me every time I call her name tonight. And I'm going to go down to Nessa Dog's opportunities. I'm going to say add an opportunity here. Because again, we are going to work with these opportunities when we get to Campaign Builder. So an opportunity, as I said, is traditionally about tracking sales or the opportunity to make a sale. So when you go in here, I'm an owner. The first stage ID that we have set up for an opportunity is potential project. And I'm going to, let's see, put some notes in here like Pocket Developer. I'm going to say, what is our next action? Get her some meaty bones. And that the next action date is going to be like soon because she really wants those meaty bones, right? And no bundles. Now, by the way, something that's really important for our purposes today is for you to know that opportunities also allow custom fields in the same way that your contacts allow custom fields. In fact, there are 100 custom fields that you can create on an opportunity. Now, in my experience, most people do not use those custom fields, or if they do, they use very, very few of them. And the reason for that is that they're hard to get to, right? So most people just don't even bother. But there are, in fact, 100 custom fields which are available to an opportunity, as well as 100 on products, 100 on referrals, I think, 100 on company, right? So while we always think about the 100, the precious 100 that are available on our contacts, there are actually several hundred more that are available to us if we know how to get to them, which is one of the things that we have done with Pocket Developer. So these are, for example, some of our custom fields. We're not going to fill those out right now, but I'm going to go ahead and say save. I could as I'm setting this up. And so here is her opportunity. Now I am going to, it's going to take it a second. By the way, I live out in the country on a farm, and so I have it's not the speediest internet in the world. So I'm going to say dog treats, right? For the opportunities, dog treats for Nessa. Okay. And then we're just going to say save here. So this is our opportunity, and as we go along, it has the ability to move through all of these various stages. Now, as you saw, Nessa did not have any opportunities when I started. So for her, this is her only opportunity. Okay. However, when we get to Drita, we're going to find out she's got multiple opportunities, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to work with that. So that's what an opportunity is. Now, let's talk about some of the things that you can do with an opportunity other than the sales stage. As I said, anything basically that is linear is something that can be tracked well with an opportunity. So, for example, a fulfillment process, right? So your stages there, rather than, the typical sales stages might be things like sent to the warehouse, picked, packed, shipped, order tracking, number received by the client or the customer, etc. It could be a development process. So if you're developers like us, it could be, the traditional agile to-do, doing, done. If you outsource things to a contractor, that could be a different development process. Services and work orders for service businesses that do projects. Those are linear processes that can be tracked well with a opportunity. Hiring process. Someone said that they are using it for recruiting. That's a classic example. New candidate, first interview, second interview, hired, drug test, paperwork, whatever. A fundraising process, for example, pitched, demoed, money in the bank, whatever. What are some other ones? Can you guys think of some other ones that I'm not thinking of? I'm trying to think of some of the ones that have come up for us, like support tickets, by the way. So we typically will, a lot of us will use a standalone application, but support tickets can be tracked well as an opportunity. New, working, complete. That's a linear progression. Bug tracking, like new, duplicatable, assigned, and development resolved. So you get the idea. Pretty much anything that has phases or stages are trackable, could be trackable as opportunities in Infusionsoft. So they're good for that, tracking a linear process. Now, they're also quite useful when you have a one-to-many situation. For example, right, one contact might have multiple orders, or multiple jobs applied for, or multiple support tickets, or multiple bugs submitted. So one kind of key is when someone starts talking about something that's linear and needs tracking, but another one is when they start talking about one-to-many. Now, there are other one-to-many ways to track one-to-many, by the way, for example, a contact to company is one-to-many, so is referral to affiliate. So, those are other ways to go when someone starts saying, oh, I need one-to-many. But opportunity is another easy one. And then, again, holding data related specifically to that process, because it does have 100 custom fields there in addition to the ones on the contacts. That's what it's good for. Now, that being said, many people refuse to use opportunities. Refuse, like flat out refuse to use them. Hate them, in fact. I didn't use them for the longest time, I will confess, and probably for the reason that most people do not, and that is really three big reasons. Number one is because there are no opportunity merge fields in either Campaign Builder or email templates. And so it's kind of like, well, what good are those 100 fields if I can't get to them in Campaign Builder or in an email? The other thing is, one of the very things that is one of the reasons to use it, the fact that it's one-to-many, is one of the reasons people refuse to use it. That also makes it difficult. In fact, the reason you don't have opportunity merge fields in Campaign Builder or email templates is because of the fact that it's one-to-many. How do you know if there is more than one opportunity? How do you know which one to use? And that's why they're not there. Another thing, and this is really the one we're about to focus on here, is that you can't change stages from Campaign Builder. And that's a big sticking point for a lot of people. So what a lot of people have done that I've seen in campaigns that I came into after the fact is that instead they will use tags to track the process. And they will burn up those many of those precious 100 custom fields in the contact record because they don't want to use opportunities. So we developed solutions for each one of those three problems. And it was interesting because as soon as we did that, and we solved those three problems, then it really opened up my eyes to the power of opportunities, because now I could use them, and I use them a lot because they're actually really kind of handy. But I will say this: once you start using them, then you realize all of a sudden that there's a fourth problem that you didn't realize until you do start using them. And that is, I guess this comes up some with contacts too, but it seems to me like it comes up more with these linear processes, is that in many of these use cases, you're going to find that you need to communicate with someone other than the contact. where that opportunity is connected with. For example, you may have a contact with an opportunity, but you need to send emails and notifications and even update the records of other contacts, the warehouse, a developer, a contractor, a service technician, internal staff, your management team, people who are someone other than who that opportunity is connected to, and that becomes an issue too. Now, again, we're not going to focus on that issue today, although that is probably a good topic for another webinar. But what we are really going to focus on today is that third one, which is the ability to change stages from Campaign Builder and how we do that, because it's obviously not available out of the box. So the way that we do that, just so that is with one of our Pocket Developer plugins, and I will just tell you very briefly about how Pocket Developer came to be. So the Infusionsoft, let me just show you guys. So if some of you have never been to the Pocket Developer page on our site, probably it's actually this one. These are all of our Pocket Developer plugins, and so the way Pocket Developer came about was Infusionsoft has this mantra, right? Of if you do something more than 3 times, automate it. And so within each of the unique development jobs that we were doing, there seems to be this core group of problems that had to be solved over and over and over again. So we sort of started out by thinking about creating our own code blocks to solve those problems that repeat themselves within the jobs. The whole job may be different, but again, these kind of core issues come up over and over and over again. Many developers do this. They end up with what they call their own ISDK. If you're familiar with that term, it's kind of what connects you to the Infusionsoft API. And then we started thinking about, well, how could someone other than a developer use those code blocks? Because quite frankly, Infusionsoft developers are in very high demand, and time and money, if you can shift some of that development work down away from the developers themselves, then that's profit. Lots of profit, lots more profit, I should say. And so, that was the next idea. And then we really started to extend that idea to a user, to any Infusionsoft user. Why couldn't a user work with these code blocks? And so what we eventually got to is 32, I think, and counting, of these plugins that are in various stages of development. A few of them are still in the coming soon category, but quite a lot of them are coming really soon. They're all done because we use them internally, but the documentation is not. So, but what happens is when you mix and match these plugins, they allow essentially a non-developer to do almost anything in Campaign Builder that a developer can do. And so besides all the small things that Pocket Developer can do, like kind of, keeping running totals of purchase information and changing the formats of dates or registering someone for a GoToWebinar, Pocket Developer is really, in my mind, like a game changer in 5 ways that no one else is doing. Those are these 5 things here. And that is that you can access, update, and merge data that's stored in opportunities, which is going to be a key here, appointments, tasks, orders, invoices, referrals, and so on, right? It allows you to access, update, and merge data that's stored in contacts other than the one going through the campaign, which is amazingly cool. It allows, you see what so like, for example, let's just say ID number 234 is going through the campaign, but you actually want to increment a counter on ID number 238. It can do that. Actually, it's absolutely now not tied to the one going through the campaign. The ability to delay and resume using any increment or description of time, for example, to say like 1 hour before contact appointment time, custom field. New goal scenarios for things like new contact created, new opportunity created, new appointment created, new task, etc. And the fact that you can reuse these blocks or plugins over and over and over again in as many apps as you want, because it's a one-time fee and they're hosted on your server, and they are completely open source. So those things are all sort of things that we set out to solve. Now, today's webinar is focused specifically on automated stage moves because that is something that people request a lot. So of these 5, we are only going to touch on number 1 today, this access, update, and merge data stored in this case specifically opportunities, although it could, the same concept works for all of these things. So, and we're going to do that with something called, we use something called advanced field notation, which allows us to determine which opportunity we want to move, right? But I'm going to get off of this here real quick, but I will just say a couple things real quick. If one of these 5 things is of interest to you, or particular interest to you, then either like schedule some time to brainstorm with me using our how can I do this form. Let me see if I can just get that up here really quickly. I think this is it. How can I do this in Infusionsoft? I just schedule 30-minute calls with people to just help them figure out how to do this. And I'm not, it's not, it's all kinds of things. I very often end up pointing people to ways to do it that has nothing to do with us or Pocket Developer that they had no idea that they could do. So if you're interested in that or any of those things, feel free to take advantage of that. We also have our Facebook group, which I do not have up, but that is the API Learners group. And I would also recommend you get on our mailing list so that when we announce new webinars or what have you, that you can take advantage of those. So let's go back to this and start talking about this idea of how do we move these stages, okay? So what I'm going to do, I think the easiest way for me to do is to jump into a campaign here. I'm going to jump around a little bit between campaigns to kind of show you guys some different things. So there are 2 different ways, I think, to think about opportunities, and at least in relationship to a campaign. And those 2 ways are what I call push and pull. And so this is what I mean by that. So I'm going to make this smaller for just a second. Oops, smaller. Oh, that's good enough for now. So what I mean by push and pull is this. The Infusionsoft way is pull, okay? And what that means is that you change a stage in an opportunity or data in an opportunity by going into that opportunity, just like, by going into the contact and logging into, Dritadog and then clicking on her opportunities and changing the stage and or information that goes with it. And then by virtue of that change within that opportunity, that then automation happens, right? You've got this pipeline automation here that you can set up that happens as a result of a stage move when something moves from one stage to another. Similarly, here in this campaign, for example, we're using the pull version of that. So here is, if you look at these goals, here, so send a quote triggers when something moves into a stage called send proposal, okay? When something moves into preview proposal, when something moves into quote sent, then what comes next fires. And that's what we mean, or that's what Infusionsoft, that's the Infusionsoft way of doing it, the pull way, right? But the problem with that is, how do you, other than going in manually and changing all those things, which Infusionsoft steadfastly maintains, and has their reasons philosophically that that's the only way that it should be done. The problem is, like, all of my clients don't think that way, right? A lot of us think about these campaign moves in terms of push, meaning you change the stage or the data here in Campaign Builder, and then as part of the automation, right, then the action happens. It's a push instead of a pull. So hopefully you understand the distinction. And Campaign Builder does not support that push. There is no way currently out of the box for Campaign Builder to change that stage. Okay, so all right, so you guys hopefully you get the idea of this and how how that works. Okay, so so if we want to push, okay, how are we going to do that? Well, let's do this. I'm going to show you our Pocket Developer opportunity to any stage plugin, and I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to actually install it on a server here, and so that we can work with it. And I have actually, no, not Infusionsoft. I've already bought my copy. Let's see here. In fact, I can probably just go right here, and hopefully it's going to just log me in. Not. I can just log in this way. Okay, so if I go to I'm just gonna. This is our opportunity to any stage. And if I had just bought it, for example, in our store, this is what it would look like. And the next step, it would take me to this portal and it would tell me to configure and install it. So I'm going to do that really quick. I'm going to hit this configure and install button. Okay, and we're going to install this on trainandsimple.com, which is one of my domains that I don't use anymore, but that's where I'm going to put it for now. Now, it's asking me, by the way, for my FTP credentials. And it actually checks these somewhat to make sure that they're valid and that can't talk and type at the same time, that there's write access, or actually, some things like that. And we're going to make this do a little more checks in the future. But so when I hit next, it's going to check, and provided that, as far as it can tell, these are valid credentials, then it goes to the next step and it asks me for my Infusionsoft credentials. So I'm going to put my just put my app name there as the nickname. I'm going to put my app name there, and I'm going to put my API key in here. And so that allows it to configure my connection with Infusionsoft and the Infusionsoft API. And I'm going to say next. And then it's going to sit here and for just a second and configure and install that on my server, on my Train and Simple server. And then it's done. So so to just kind of show you that really quickly before we start working with it, so that you understand kind of what's happening there. So if I go now to that server, Train and Simple, this is a FTP, my FTP. Well, there it is right there. So if I go to my public HTML folder, whatever that is, www or public HTML, it's going to create, if it's not already there, I'm sorry, I can't make this bigger. I wish I could. A folder called scripts. And then inside that, it's going to make a folder called Pocket Developer. And then you'll notice inside Pocket Developer, it's going to add two folders, one called blocks, one called services. If this is the first time you've bought a Pocket Developer plugin, if you've already bought one and you're adding one, this will already be there, and it will add your newest plugin to this folder called blocks. And so here is our stage moves plugin right here. So stagemoves.php is now this is on your server, right? You've bought it, you've paid for it, you own it, it lives on your server, and it is pre-configured at this point to work with your app and your server without needing us for that. So we know it's there, we know it's been installed, and we know now that we can work with it. So how do we work with it? Well, we're going to work with it in Campaign Builder primarily. There are other ways you can use it in saved action sets, you can use it in lists and things, but primarily we're going to work with it in a Campaign Builder. In fact, actually, let me just, well, no, there's one right here, but I can show it to you. This is the API, guys, right? So this is this is one of those. This is stage moves, okay? And this is how you work with it. And I'm going to show you what all this means here in a second. But basically, you got a URL, right? And like all HTTP post snippets, you've got some parameters, and in our case, these can be really amazingly specific parameters, and then it submits these parameters to the script and it does what you tell it to do. So so this is just an example. I'm going to take you through actual examples of how it works and what it does and different scenarios you can use it in, but you can actually see it at work. I just kind of noticed it sitting here, so that's why I did it. That in this, what this is doing, just so you know, so this is like our new, this is someone who's coming in, they've scheduled a meeting with me. Or actually they've indicated interest. It's trying to get them to schedule a meeting with me. When they do that using Schedule Once software, that Schedule Once software applies a tag which says that they have in fact scheduled a meeting. And then here what's happening is some of our other plugins, AnyDate, Pocket Developer AnyDate, Anywhere, is actually, in this case, I didn't intend to show you this, but we're here, so I'm going to. So AnyDate Anywhere is taking that date that they scheduled for, the date and the time, and it's saving it in as a date only field so that we can use it in the campaign builder for a field timer. And then this one, same thing. This is also AnyDate, and what AnyDate's doing here, it's doing a different date. This is like pretty date, human date format, and it's putting it in a custom field so that we can merge it into an email. And then it's actually moving this opportunity that they have into destination, into stage 59. Okay, and actually, let me just show you, because believe me, I promise you I am going to do this in some detail, but just again, so you can't see this in the context of a full campaign. What is 59? It's probably this one right here. It is, and I know that. I'm hovering over this link, and I can see down in the bottom left-hand corner that stage 59 is initial meeting scheduled, right? So what this is doing is it is actually moving them from to this opportunity rather to stage 59, where it's going to sit until then it nags me and asks me what happened in the meeting about, whatever, a number of times until I send them a quote or do something else further down, like cancel the process or what have you, because they didn't want to quote, right? So this is it in the context of a of a full-blown campaign. But let's go do this. I'm gonna do. Yeah, I did. I created one for Nessa. So let's go look at some examples of how this works. In your handout, there is, at the very bottom, there is a number of resources here, and one of them is this one is the quick start guide for opportunity any stage. And so that is this document on our website here, any opportunity, any stage, quick start guide. And it actually explains the parameters and the various things that we can do with this post snippet. So this is kind of what we're going to be using here for our guide. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually just pull this off into its own window so that you guys can see it while I'm working and kind of refer to it as we go along, okay? Because this, I think, will help you guys make sense of all of this. I probably can get rid of this portal. You really don't need that. Okay, so let's do this. So we're gonna start with Nessadog. Okay, now remember I told you that Nessa only has a single opportunity. So let's look at Nessa's opportunity that we created here. Okay, so this is the most basic scenario. This one's actually not that tough to deal with because there's only one. So when you assume that there's only one, a contact's only ever going to have a single opportunity, well, you can do things to it fairly safely because you don't have to worry about which one. But for now, we've got just this one that we created, okay? And it's in this stage called potential project. It's called dog treats for Nessa. Um, Heck. And that's not at all where I wanted to go. So we're gonna work with that. Come back, Nessa. Hang on one second. And I'm going to show you how we're going to work with that. Go back to Nessa. All right, so I'm going to go to campaign here, and then I'm going to go to this one called Kim Demo, which I've already kind of got going in this direction. And we're just going to move the stages around on this thing so that you can see how that goes. Karen asked, where did I see the stage ID? And I'm assuming that you're meaning on this page right here, which is the sales pipeline settings page, basically. So what happens is, let me move this up so that you can see it. It's really hard to see because it's tiny, but when I look, if you'll look down in the bottom left-hand corner of my window, which, let me see if I move this up if it's a little easier. And yeah, so if you look in the bottom left-hand window, if you'll notice as I move over these links, each one of them, you can see it says JavaScript edit stage, and then that one says 59, 18, 56, 57. That's the only, they don't show you these IDs on anywhere, unfortunately. So really the only place you can get them is by hovering over the link. Even if I say edit, it doesn't show me the ID anywhere. So I get it. And that's a trick you can use in lots of places. Most links, everything, because this is all database driven, so everything has IDs, and most links that you hover over will always show you the ID of whatever it is that you're hovering over. So that is where that came from. All right, so back to this this campaign here. This is just yeah, so we're going to work with this, okay? So all I've done is I've set up this little simple little sequence here where we've got a tag being applied to kick the sequence off, and it's just post up for opportunity, and then I've got this opportunity stage move. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually start off with basic rather than full, just to kind of start slow, and then we'll kind of get more ninja here as we go. So this is our HTTP post snippet, and in our snippet we are going to put the URL to that script that we installed on our server. And if you remember, I told you it was in scripts, Pocket Developer, blocks, stage moves, and the script itself is called stagemoves.php, right? And now, so in this case, I've actually got this already set up for the API guys instead of Train and Simple, but same difference, right? It would be whatever, this would be whatever your server was, wherever you set this up, would be this URL. So that's what goes up here. And so at its very simplest, what you would do is you would say, because I've only got one for Nessa, right? I would just, the contact ID, this is there by default. It always puts this in here. You shouldn't need to change it, right? But when I say destination here, and this is in the documentation, you see it says destination, the destination stage ID to move all opportunities found for the specified contact record, which may or may not be limited by optional filtering criteria. All opportunities found will be set to this specified destination stage ID. So what this is saying is we're going to, every opportunity we find, right, that is connected to this contact ID, we're going to set to stage 56. So this is in no way distinguishing between them. And we can use this with Nessa because we know Nessa only has one. And so since she only has one, we're just going to say, okay, move her to 56, which is this one on hold for budget. Okay. So we're going to move Nessa from potential project, which is where she's at right now. Right? Yep. Potential project to on hold for budget, and just by running this little HTTP post snippet through stage moves. So I'm going to go I'm going to go back to my sequence. I'm going to go back to my campaign. I'm going to hit the publish button. And I did do that right, didn't I? Yep. Okay. And hit publish. Publish. Okay. And then I'm going to go over here to Nessa. And I'm going to apply that tag to her. Post to op. We're going to say apply. And we're going to give it a second. We're going to hit the refresh button. Make sure that ran, because I did run them through these contacts a few times. Okay. Take a look at campaigns. Just confirm that that ran. Uh, 540, it did. Okay, oops. Sorry, guys. Here, let me get scrolled up here. So it also ran something else, but oh well. Something else I had that tag applied to. And okay, so that ran. So now if we go look at her opportunities, you can see here already that that stage moved to on hold for budget, which is exactly what we expected, right? So in fact, that worked. That worked exactly how we wanted to. And if we changed that destination to a different stage ID, then it would move it to a different stage, right? So that's an example of where all we needed was destination, because we knew there was only going to be one. But what if we go to a different scenario where there isn't just one, right? Where a customer could have multiple opportunities. So Drita is going to be an example of that. So if we look at Drita's opportunities, we're going to see, golly, come on. We're going to see here, I'm going to make this bigger. You guys probably can't see this very well anyway. Drita is a really smart dog. So she has two opportunities. Okay, one has her name in it. One is called Meaty Bone Bonanza. Both are in the stage called on hold for budget. Okay, so now in this case, let's just say that we want to move one but not the other. Now, how can we do that? Well, there's all kinds of ways that we can do that depending on our scenario. Notice here, if we go, well, I'll just tell you that pretty much any field within an opportunity is available to us to use as a filter. And you can find those fields. I put this in your notes. If this is the table documentation, if you go to the developer forum and you look for here under table documentation, it lists all the fields that are available in different tables. Infusionsoft calls, interestingly, opportunities are called leads. It says this table holds opportunity record data, and if you go to lead, it'll show you all the different fields that are actually in an opportunity. And these are the database names which you're going to need to do this. So you can see, like, here's stage ID, here's status ID, here's the owner, projected revenue. This is the opportunity title. Here are your opportunity notes, last updated dates, close date, date created, contact ID, affiliate ID, right? All of these things are available to us to differentiate one from another. And so the way that this works is, I wish that would go away. The way that this works is we're going to add, instead of just destination, we're going to add 3 more fields here, 3 more parameters to our post. We're going to add one called filter by. We're going to add one called limit to and one called order by. Now, these 3 are optional. You can use one of them or all of them to get to what you want. Filter by essentially ends up being like, well, not essentially. What you're really doing is you're doing a query without having to know how to write a query. So if you go down here and you look at this on filter by, it says you can filter by any field in an opportunity as follows. So for a number, right, you're just going to say, like, what's the field name, colon, and then the ID. So you do have to do a little bit of work on these things, right? Because you do have to go like find or stage the stage ID. Now in this case, this is the stage ID it's in. You're saying I want to move the opportunities that have a stage ID of 32. For a text field, you would do it this way. You would say, and I'm just picking opportunity title, but it could be any of these text fields, right? It could be in the notes. It could be in the title. It could be any of these ones that say string, right? You could say where the opportunity title is my text, in which case you do the name of the field, opportunity title, colon, and because it's text, it's got to be in quotes, my text. Now, you can also use wildcard symbols, which is the in Infusionsoft, which is a um, percent sign. So this one only uses one. It says opportunity title is my text wildcard, meaning my text with something could have anything behind it, but the beginning of that string is going to be my text. Or here is a third version. Here's where we put the wildcard at the beginning and the end, and so we're saying somewhere in that title is the phrase my text, right? So we can filter by that. Anywhere, any string, any text, anywhere in an opportunity, you can basically query on that. Or you can do next action date. Now you can't, unfortunately, because these are represented in Infusionsoft, even though they're date fields as being text, we can get kind of close to, so like you could say 2004-09, which is their format. That'd be September, and then wildcard will kind of get you part of a date field. But then what you do is you chain those, you combine them with commas, and that will actually get you some pretty specific criteria. So for example, if you just said user ID 3, then that would only move opportunities that are currently at stage 3, right? But if you said stage ID 3, comma, affiliate ID 4, now we're only going to move opportunities that are in stage 3 that were referred by affiliate ID 4, affiliate meaning contact ID 4, right? Or let's keep going. You could do, I have a typo here. This should say affiliate ID 4, not user ID. So if I said affiliate ID 4, user ID 5, that would be, we're going to move any opportunity that was referred by contact ID 4 but has been assigned to owner number 5, right? Here's 3 deep. User ID 3, again, that's a typo, should be user ID 3, affiliate ID 4. I got those all messed up, didn't I? You can tell I was copy and pasting. Sorry about that. I will fix that. Stage ID 3. This is in stage 3. This is right down here. Affiliate ID 4 and owner number 5. So only the opportunities that fit those criteria. And then finally, again, this one is not right either, but it's right down here. Opportunities at stage 3 that were referred by contact ID 4, assigned to owner 5 that has the word Pocket Developer in the title. So you can see just how specific you can get in moving these opportunities around. And then further, you can say, well, and if this still returns more than one, then I want either oldest or newest, and which is what goes in the limit to parameter, and order by is what goes in, you can do either created or updated. So show me the newest. If there's more than one, give me the newest create date or the oldest create date, newest updated date, oldest updated date, to get to a single opportunity that you want to move. Okay, so when you do that, it looks like this. So we're gonna go get Drita's opportunities here and which are both currently on hold for budget. And we are going to go down here, and we're going to change to this full one down here. Oops. Oh well, I'll fix that in a minute. Okay, so right now, currently, here's what we have. We have destination is 69, meaning we want to change her opportunity to 69, which is, I believe, do nothing. It is a stage called do nothing. That way I won't accidentally trigger something I didn't mean to trigger in another campaign somewhere. Oh, and then wrong one. So then what we're saying is we're going to say, because she only has two, right? So we want the one where the product we're talking about is meaty bones. So I'm just going to say where opportunity title is meaty bones. Now, if I needed to, because let's imagine that she had, a lot of them and I really had to get more specific, I could add, newest and created, and I could add more criteria as well. But in this case, it's really not necessary. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say back to sequence. I'm going to connect this one up and I'm going to go to the campaign and I'm going to publish that. If I could get to it, I'm going to publish that. And then we're going to run this for Drita and I'll show you what happens. Now this is the part that's magic, because there are some people out there who in various apps and plugins are doing moves to a single when there's a single opportunity, but there's nobody out there who has figured or created one where you can do it when there are multiple, particularly, and be as flexible and configurable as this one is. What am I doing? I'm applying a tag here to Drita. So I'm going to go here to Drita and I'm going to apply her tag here, which is post-op. I'm going to say apply this tag. And I should not need to say save, but that will, I believe, refresh her record. And let's see if that has had a chance to run, hopefully. I'll check the opportunities, and it has. So look what happened. So when that ran, notice that this one that doesn't have bone in the title is still on hold for budget. However, this one, which did have bone in the title, has been changed. The stage has been changed to do nothing, which is what we wanted. So that is how you can get really, really, really specific about really complex stage move scenarios without getting things all goobered up. So that is a stage move from Campaign Builder. So pretty much those are all the scenarios that I had to show you. One of the things that I said I would do if anybody would like to is that I would take any questions that you had basically on any topic, meaning whether it's the stage move itself or any other thing that you want to figure out how to do in Infusionsoft for Campaign Builder that you haven't figured out how to do yet and you'd like me to take a crack at. I can't guarantee that I can answer it, but I'd be more than happy to do my best. So I'm going to open it up to Q&A and basically tell you that it is absolutely wide open to anything that you would like to ask about, anything you would like to ask about, if that made any sense at all. All right. So here's a question from Karen. And by the way, I'm going to, just so you guys know, I am going to have a special offer for you here in a second on Pocket Developer plugins, if you're so inclined to use those. So she says, left field question. In the HTTP post setup, do we have access to linked contact fields too? You do not. However, that's another one of those things that we created a plugin to do. Yeah, I mean, that's something that that is, that goes back to definitely, that's not a left field question actually, because it comes up all the time. So here, when when I was showing you in the store, like the 5 things that are things that you can't do out of the box that we set out to solve ourselves. This is one of them, which is to access, update, and merge data stored in contacts other than the one going through the campaign. And by that, now we actually can just, if we want to, we can literally, we don't even have to, we can do it. You don't even have to be linked. I can actually just like randomly pick a contact ID and even though, and just do whatever I want as it's going through the campaign. It's called override in our plugins. However, what this idea is really meant for is if you take something like either any date, well, any of these core plugins, any date or any text, for example, or field math will do it as well. We have the ability to either write a date to or text to pull it from, write it to, do whatever we want with it, and get it from a linked field. Because, for example, a contact has, if you look at it, well, let me just show you. If you look at it, you'll see that in those records, a contact actually lists, well, here's who here's an example. Here's who your affiliate is, right? So if I'm in here, I can just grab this affiliate ID as part of, and give it to Text Anywhere, and then Text Anywhere will write something, write whatever you want text-wise into that affiliate. Or if I want to do, any date anywhere, or Field Math can do counters or what have you. So that's how we do linked. So for example, contact, if you look, not only do we have our own ID here in contact, but we have company ID. So if you want to write something into the company record, it can do that. It's also got here owner ID in case if you want to write something into the owner record, we can do that with any text, any date, or field math. Same thing with referral code. Anyway, so there's all these things that we can actually work with to link, or we can just override and kind of grab it in other ways. So again, essentially, so your answer is no, not out of the box. One person says, good question. But that is one of the problems that we solve, because it's something we have to do all the time. And I will give you a perfect case scenario for this from someone who's on the call. And I gave this scenario to the last time as well, but it's just such a classic scenario and it's fresh in my mind. And that scenario is, so they have a program where they sell these assessments, right? And they sell them in bundles of 5, and so to coaches. And so the coach goes out and basically resells them to a client. So the client puts an order in. And so the client is someone other than the person who bought these assessments, but they only have 5, and they need to be able to shut them off after 5, right? So every time a client, which is the person making the purchase going through this campaign, places an order, we actually can reach out and, using field math, decrement the counter by 1 of the person who bought them. And that's one example, one of countless examples where we needed to be able to do things like that. And we can do with what we call this advanced field notation that we have that'll basically makes you like a developer without having to know code. Long-winded answer, but it's a good one. Okay, can email notification be sent to an email address if it is more than once in a campaign? Yep. Well, guess what? That is yet another one of those problems that we had to solve, and it is not on the plugin list currently. It is in. I want to make sure it's not on the plugin list. No, it is not listed here currently, but it is in development. We are using, we are building or have built, I'm not sure which, for a custom development project that we are working on currently that has this same requirement. And Infusionsoft does not do this, does not allow this. Because they don't. I mean, actually, there's a number of scenarios they don't allow. So some of the other things we're solving with this plugin is that like if you want to email three, let's imagine you need to send an email to 3 of your internal staff members after this registration form gets filled out. Yep, you're going to email the person who filled it out, but now you need to send 3 alert notification emails to your internal staff. You can't just put 3 of them in the BCC column. You have to make 3 different posts, or 3 different emails rather, with their name hard coded in it. And then if later on when something else happens, now you need to notify those same staff, you can't do it. They won't let you do it again from within the same campaign. So we've got a plugin that we're actually putting together to solve that problem as well. It is not here for purchase yet, but it will be very soon, because that is something we have also run into. Hopefully that answers your question. So these are the sorts of things that we do. Like, we just run into these problems all the time. Okay, Scott, our help link for delay timer less than 15 minutes is wrong. You have to copy and paste the link for it to work. Can you tell me, okay. So, yeah, so the person whose campaign I was describing with the referrals says works like a charm, pure magic. Thank you for that one. Let me just see, Scott, if I can get to your question here, and if you can tell me what you mean by the link being wrong, I'd appreciate it. So the way that a delay timer works is this. In fact, I have one right here, so we can look at it. So this in fact may be my webinar next week. This is, I've been working on this for a while. This is a 100% dynamic GoToWebinar campaign where you basically have to set up the GoToWebinar in GoToWebinar and put in the webinar ID in one place at the beginning of this campaign, and the entire thing runs from beginning to end without you ever having to touch it again. And so even if every time it's at a different time and a different date and so on and so forth. So so I've got a delay timer, a custom delay timer right here. Okay, now, so for those of you who don't know what a custom, we give this away free, by the way. This is one of the plugins that we give away for free, and it's this one right here. So if you go here, custom delay timer, you can actually just add it, free download, and get it for free. And what this does is, the purpose of this is in your campaign builder all the time, especially if you work with scripts going out to I hate that thing popping up, out to third-party plugins. You've got to add a little delay in there to let the process complete, or otherwise you'll end up with blanks because the data hasn't come back yet from the script or from the third party yet. And the problem with that is a lot of the time you don't, the lowest increment on a delay timer for Infusionsoft out of the box is 15 minutes, but I don't need 15 minutes. like this is a perfect example right here. So this is our Pocket Developer GoToWebinar block, right? And so what this is going to do is if I open this snippet, this is the GoToWebinar block. So it is going to, this action says register this person for this webinar. When you bring the title back and put it in this field, bring the date and time back and put it in this field of the webinar, whatever this webinar ID is, and put the join URL in this field. And this is a lesser version of this is essentially what sent you guys all of your emails for today, right? So, okay, so I have to go out. This is physically going out to GoToWebinar to get this information, retrieve it, register you, retrieve it, and then bring this stuff back and write it into these three fields. Before I send you your email, which is what comes next, right? Well, actually, there's some more merges that are going to happen. Any date's going to put these things, these other versions of your dates in, but these things are working off of that date that it brought back, right? So when it starts and the next thing fires, it has to be done. This part has to be done. So I have to have a delay. And that's what the reason for the delay timer is. So typically what you would do is you would stick a 15-minute delay timer, this one, in here. And with the lowest denominator being minutes, 15 minutes. Well, that's it. That's as low as I can go. I don't want to wait 15 minutes. I just need like 60 seconds to let my script finish, right? So the purpose of this delay timer is to do that. That's what custom delay timer does. So if I open it, this is how you configure it. It had to work, Scott. It has to be at the end of a sequence like this one is. So you have your script, which is right here. Okay. This is your custom delay timer installed wherever it is installed. You've got the contact ID. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to give it a name. You're going to give a call name, and I'll show you what this is going to do. It doesn't matter what this is. You can totally make this up. The only requirement is it has to be unique. You can't have used it elsewhere in the campaign or you're going to get some weird results. And then you want to say, so mine's called PD Wake Up 1 DFG. I just like type some keys and so it says Pocket Developer Wake Up. And it's going to wake up in 120 seconds. Okay, that's what delay for means. So we have a call name, we have delay for 120 seconds, and we have our URL. And we put this in a sequence at the end. Okay, at the last thing inside the sequence. And then the very next thing has to be this AP, and it's a goal. And it's not what I wanted to show you. It's an API goal. Now, a lot of people don't even realize that there is such a thing as an API goal, but there is. And where you get to it is all the way, if you click on this little meta box down in the corner, which all of us are used to clicking, and you go all the way to the bottom of this, one of those is API call is made. Okay? Well, guess what? What that script does, it makes this API call. And so you'll notice right here that call name that I just said, PD Wake Up 1 DFG, that's the name of the call that gets made, right? That's my app name. So what this does between here and here is it sleeps for 120 seconds, right? It sleeps for 120 seconds and then it fires and it triggers this goal to let this thing keep going. And that's how it delays for 120 seconds. That's what a custom delay timer is. And it can do anything from 1 second to, millions of seconds if you want, although it would be silly really kind of to use it for anything other than, less than 15 minutes, which is what you're stuck with. So that's how you configure it. And let me show you one other thing, which is where you find the documentation for that on our website, which is here. So if you go to our website, if you go to Learning Center and you go to PDev documentation, okay, click on that. And it's right here. We actually don't have a quick start guide for it. But if you look at this one, delay campaign builder less than 15 minutes with Pocket Developer custom delay timer, or if you just search on the site for custom delay timer, you will find it as well. And so here it is. Sometimes you want to delay for less than 15 minutes. And this shows you exactly how to set it up. Here's the post and the post snippet and all the things I just showed you step by step is right there for you. And that is how it works. So hopefully Scott did. So let's see. So my link is wrong. Okay, so when you click the link in that page, oh, interesting. Okay, so the link is wrong. Got it. All right. Yeah, and you wanted to know, could you break it up with in a sequence without having to break up the sequence with a goal? No, yeah, you can't do that. Now, if you look, too, we have other timers that I'm using here in this. So see all these other API goals. These are I think these ones that say wake up are the only ones that are custom delay timers. But you'll notice that I have these other ones called PD resume. And PD resume, PD resume, PD resume. And what we're doing with those, these are what we call the universal delay timer. And they work very similarly. However, what this allows you to do is a little bit different. So this is essentially, as the name applies, it basically allows you to designate a timer to go, something to go off anytime you want it to. So when you run the script, this one's still in development, by the way. So some of this is kind of changed since I did this, but is coming out really soon. So the idea is that you have the parameters are that you have a trigger date and a trigger time, meaning this is when I want this thing to fire. Now I can run this off of a field or fields. I can hard code this in there, and I can also do an adjustment. And this adjustment, the things you can use for this adjustment are anything that PHP will accept. So there's all kinds of language that PHP will accept as an adjustment, and there's a documentation for that. So basically what this is saying is to run this, fire this 1 hour before the webinar date and time. And when you fire it, trigger this goal called PD resume whatever. And so when you go back out, you'll notice again, this sits at the end of the sequence. And the very next thing in that sequence is that PD resume, right? And so when it fires that, it's going to sit, in this case, it's going to sit here and wait until 1 hour before the webinar, whenever that is, whether that's days or weeks or months or whatever. And then it's going to fire 1 hour before the webinar, and then it's going to send out that webinar reminder. And then guess what? Then there's another one, and now this one is just saying now fire again at the date and time of the webinar. So send the email at when the webinar starts, and then there's another trigger there, which then send that email. And then here's another one, right? And now this time it says, okay, now trigger, oh, sorry, no, this is, trigger this 4 hours after the webinar. So this one, yep, another delay timer or custom or universal timer plus 4 hours. So now we're doing webinar date and time plus 4 hours. And if you go back to this one, I'm actually stealing my thunder for next week. I should stop showing you guys this because I think this is what I'm going to do next week. But anyway, and then it goes on, it does other stuff. So you get the idea. But so yeah, the idea is I break these things up with lots of goals. Because I want them to stop and start, at least in this kind of a sequence, where we're dealing with an event that has lots of dates. Now, obviously, if you're not working with a lot of dates, that may or may not be the case for you. Anyway, so that's how those work. I kind of got off on a little tangent on those. Any other questions that I can answer for anybody about how to do things, or in Campaign Builder, how to get things done? All right. Well, let me just quickly then let you in on the special offer that I have for you. And I know people always say this, but I'm telling you, like in this case, it's really true. Like you are never, ever, 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 ever going to be able to buy these plugins at these prices again. I can promise you that they will get more. They will absolutely get more expensive. So just for you guys, yeah, really and literally for you guys, because there's a trick to this, and if you aren't on this, you aren't going to know the trick. I put together this afternoon a package for you guys that someone who is not on the call but was dying to get these asked for, and so I went ahead and I put it together. And so it's essentially like a developer package, if you will. And what it what it is, I say, like if I was stranded on a desert island and I had to write a campaign to get myself off or die, these are the 8 Pocket Developer plugins that I would want and need in my toolbox to be able to get myself off the island. And so I've packaged them together in this developer suite. It's right here in the middle. And so like right here, stock is a 40% discount if you add these 8 together. This is what it includes: any date, any format, any text anywhere, any opportunity to any stage, which is one we were working with, contacts, company, field math, tags on the fly, universal delay timer, which is the one I was just showing you, custom delay timer, which is free for now, but won't be free for now for much longer, with free updates as we change them and improve them for 12 months, as well as 12 months of email support, which I don't do, right? We do our support in a Facebook group. So there's 12 months of email support. And I'm offering those here at a 40% discount. However, what I'm telling you on this, so that's already like a killer good deal, 40%. So you can get all of those for $13.47, cheapest price they will ever be, ever. But here's what I'm going to tell you that I realized today. So we have this early adopter discount that's been sitting here for a while and is going to expire tomorrow. And if you look at this early adopter discount, it gives you 20%, and it says that it is 20% on any plugin or sponsorship through 9/5/2014. However, I'm telling you that this code will also work on that package that I just showed you. So if you use that on that package before tomorrow, which at midnight, which is when it goes away, that gets you another 20%. So basically, that takes a package that has a rack rate of $22.39 and was down to $13.47, I think that page said. Well, when you apply this 20% discount, you're now like down to $1,077 or something like that. Don't quote me on exactly that price, but it's like 52% off if you take advantage of both of those at the same time, and then this will go away. So that's how you can get those core things. Now, we are clearly stretching the boundaries of these plugins and what we can do with them. And as we do that and make improvements to them, we will give you updates through the portal so that you can continue to take advantage of those improvements as we figure them out. So that is my deal of the century on that, and I promise you that it ain't gonna get any better than that. So okay, so that's that. What else? Any other questions that you guys have for me real quick that I can answer for you? I'm really pleased. I see a number of people from Australia and New Zealand on this call. I tried to make it at a time that was I know it's really early for you guys. Well, not so much the new Kiwis, but you guys in Australia. But good, I'm like that paid off, so I'm glad to do that. Um, okay, let's see. There. Oh no. Okay. Yes, Mike. There absolutely is a recording. I did hit the record button, so we're in good, we're in luck there. Um, so I will post that. You will, as part of that campaign I just showed you. Of course, you will be getting a link to that. What would I be? What kind of Infusionsoft consultant would I be if I didn't have that coming to you? Oh, you got the time wrong. Sorry about that, Jake. Okay. Okay. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you liked the last 20 minutes. One more here. We got one more question here from Scott about how do the multiple file uploads work? Um, Multiple file uploads. I do not have an. Yeah. Do I have an example? I can show you that. I do not. I don't think I do. Um, just think about this. No, I don't have an example in any of our campaigns. So Scott, basically the way it works is um, now this one you have to do a tiny bit of the work, but what it does is you golly, it's been like so long since I did this one. You have a form, basically, part one of the form. Let's take an example really quick in context. So let's just imagine that you're using this. You want to do hiring, and you want them to upload both a photograph and their resume, and you want to put it in their file box, and you want to do that as a multi-file upload, right? So that they can pick them both off their computer and stick them both in their file box. Not the general file box, their file box in their contact and in their contact record here, file box, right? So like these, I think we might have been testing a few things there. So what happens is there's the initial form where they go and they fill out their information, the first form, and then the thank you page actually sends them to a second to an HTML page where we actually give you the script to put on that page. No, how does that work? I know there's jQuery involved in it, and yeah. And then it calls us, yeah, and then it calls a script, and that what that page puts on it is a multi-file uploader that already has the code in it to find basically their file box and encode those files. Because you have to put them in and they have to be encoded when they go into Infusionsoft, finds their file box and puts them in there encoded with a multi-file picker. And I know that was like a really ugly explanation. It would have really been better if I'd have had one I could show you. But that's actually basically the idea is we give you the code to put into into that second page, into that thank you page that actually they gets it up into their file box, connects it to their contact record. And that one is not available yet. That one's in the coming soon department. It's one of those that we've got, but we haven't really spent too much time on. We developed for a couple client applications, but it's not well documented, and you can tell I don't use it that often because I had a hard time even remembering how it worked. Okay, let's see. Yeah, good. More questions. Go for it. So I had a question wondering what the timelines are for some of the other packages like querying an MSSQL database. Sure. Hey, well, we're working on them as fast as we can. Let me show you what is almost done. Like really, in fact, some of them, if you wanted to buy them, I could give you the undocumented version. Most of these, the issue is really the documentation. to be honest. It's not the plugins themselves. It's that because we created these in many cases for ourselves, not all of them. But we just, golly, getting this documentation done is just a bear. So I'll tell you what's basically like done, and what's not. So you can see those are available. Create a note, basically last purchase date, number of purchases, all of these in the basic stuff, save ID to prepend to person notes. These are basically done. Again, just no documentation, which is why they're in the coming soon. These are down. You could download these today out of the portal if I gave them to you. They just couldn't tell you how to use them. These are, as you can see, this one is like I think almost done today. And so could in fact be ready here in the next couple days. Same with tags on the fly, like really, really, really soon. Within a week or two, we could potentially release these if we could get the documentation done. If someone wanted to be adventurous, you could get them, really soon. Now, when we get into these listeners, these are also done. Some of them need documentation. Now, these are the basic listeners. They don't have any filters on them, but the idea here, so these, and by listeners, what these are is these are essentially goals, right? Now they work the same way as the delay timer in a way. What happens is when these things fire, they fire one of those API goals called new opportunity, new invoice, new contact, and wherever you have new contact in your campaigns anywhere, then they fire, right? So and then we rely on you to put together decision diamonds to say, well, is it a new contact that I want to do something with or not? So those are basically also done. Now, here's the ones that actually aren't so done. There's still a good bit of work to do on this. In fact, these are probably at least a month or so away. At least. And that's the idea of being able to create a filter up front to say, only trigger my campaign if there's a new opportunity with bone in the title and, stage ID 56 and, blah, blah, blah. So these are goals with criteria on them. Those are not done. And let's see, go to webinar is done, send a text. And then that's a campaign implementation. So, okay. So like, how did you know we were doing the my MS SQL? Did I have that somewhere else or talk about that somewhere? Because I bet you, maybe Mike, you saw that on our roadmap. We have a roadmap as well in Trello. So those are still anything in Trello that's not on this list, we haven't really started even working on. We might have some code for it, but not in a plugin state. We may have written scripts for it, but not in a plugin state. However, if you want those, like you haven't, a specific need for those, then, talk to me about sponsoring them. Because, for $300, you can sponsor a block or a plugin, and we'll move it up. We'll move it up the list for you. So especially if it's something that we've got either done or very close to done. Hopefully that answered your question, Mike. I missed the MS SQL part. I was thinking that was on the list, and it actually wasn't. So that's why I went through all of those. How to schedule a phone call with me. There's 2 ways to schedule a phone call with me. One is if you go anywhere on the site, and click any button that says custom dev, which is this button here, custom development on our homepage. Also, there's a big brown button in the middle, custom dev. Every one of these will take you to a project consult form, which will be followed by a way to schedule time with me to discuss if you have a specific project. But I also offer something else. So this is for someone who's like kind of thinking of hiring us, right, for something, which we would love, by the way. But there is also this, and it's Diana, it's in your handout, which again, the link to the handout is in the notes, and it's this one right here. How can I do this in Infusionsoft? So people, it's just, I'll just help you figure out how to, I like solving, like you can tell, right? This is really fun for me. I love solving Infusionsoft puzzles. So if you can't figure out how to do something and you would just like a second opinion, or this is, I can't figure it out, I'm stuck on this thing or whatever, use this one. It's, how can I do this in Infusionsoft? It's a little less formal, and it'll send you to a scheduling link for a 30-minute call with me, and I'll tell you how to do it, or as best as I can. Like today I had one, and the guy, man, it was like, it was surprisingly simple, and he was thinking he was going to have to hire a developer for it. And I get that a lot, where they think it takes a developer, and I go, oh no, did you know you could do this, this, and this? And they were like, no, I didn't know that. It's like, yeah, go do, so use that link, and it is in the handout. It's under, I can't find the handout now, but anyway, it's at the bottom under resources in the handout. And it's also, I have buttons everywhere that say, like, ask me anything. If you see one of those buttons, it'll take you there too. Yeah. So Mike's got a question about for a person wanting to better understand doing basic APIs, the course under the Learning Center, best place to go. It is, Mike. If I do say so myself, I think that is like a really good course. And for those of you who don't know, it's a course I did last year. It's here under Learn Enough PHP to Be Dangerous. And I don't really, I mean, I guess it could be true. It was an 8-day course I did. There are people on this call, in fact, who were in that course live as we did it. And it's like 80, literally 80-20 PHP, right? Could be, like you could be one of my lead developer guys, but why? For what we need to do, most of us, to just be able to get stuff done in Infusionsoft, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. 20% of the effort gets you 80% of the results. And this is what I think is the 20% that will get you the 80% of the results. And moreover, instead of, I always see people say, well, take a class in Lynda or Learning Tree or one of those. I'm not saying this, is of that caliber. It's not. But what this is it's geared to Infusionsoft, right? And just what you need to know to work with Infusionsoft. So in that way, I think it's pretty handy. And then if you want to go further, then by all means, go take some more courses. Personally, I started out the other way, like trying to learn PHP first, and I couldn't, because I didn't have context. And then when I started trying to do it with Infusionsoft, it just made a lot more sense to me. So this is free. Help yourself. It was like it's like 18 hours worth of PHP class. So with all the handouts too, there are handouts, there's code. GitHub has all the code samples that went with this, by the way. There's a ton of stuff that goes with that, and it's all in there. So go for it. Okay, Karen, I don't own, quote, a server. GoDaddy this is my domain. Can I FTP the files to my domain still? Yes. So if you have most people, I think I'm understanding this correctly. Most people do not, quote, own a server. In fact, almost nobody in this day and age, quote, owns a server. They all have shared hosting from someone like GoDaddy or HostGator, Bluehost, whomever. So the question is, do you just have a domain, or do you have a website, on that domain? Do you have like a cPanel with with FTP credentials? Go find your when you signed up for it, what you bought. If it's literally just your domain, no. The answer is, if you just bought your domain from them, no. If you bought hosting anywhere, which is, by the way, cheap, you can, you can get $4 from HostGator, $4 a month from HostGator. For example, don't get it from GoDaddy. Whatever you do, they're great for domain management. Do not use them for hosting. But if you don't have it, if you're just literally just got your domain from them, then just go pick up a $4 a month hosting account, so you can play with stuff and upload these scripts to it. That's what I would do. Or talk to me and we'll we'll rent you space for your scripts for $1 or $2 a month. Yeah. Okay, so you did see that on Trello. Good, good. Okay, where do I find the handout? Is here. Let me post it again, because if you, the weird thing about chat and GoToWebinar is if you aren't here when we post it, I don't think you see it. So I just posted it again. Yep. Good. 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 All right. I love all that. Love all that. Thanks. Okay. Yeah, it looks like I'm at the end of the questions, mostly some comments. Anything else really quickly? We went a little bit over time, I know, but hopefully it was worthwhile. And you guys have been full of good questions. All right. Well, very good. I'm going to let you go then. If I can help you guys with anything at all, please let me know. This is my favorite topic outside of polo, maybe my second favorite topic. And I love to talk with you guys, learn about your businesses, brainstorm with you, see how you can problem solve, and if I can help in any way, learn things from you as we go too, then that's super cool for me. So feel free, and I'm going to try to start doing these every single week, and I'll have a new topic next week. Maybe that webinar one, maybe something else. So keep your eyes peeled on your email for next week's topic, and I'll see you guys around Infusionsoft. Have a good evening or day, as whichever the case may be. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.